Hello, Tool fans. Today we're gonna finally start talking about Tool, my favorite band of all time, and it all, of course, started with the first album. And I'm not going to be going through. Don't look at it as if I'm presenting my albums. This is just for the presentation. I'm talking about the album in general. I'm not talking particularly about my albums. Okay, so we're talking about Tool. We're not talking about my CDs. Not in this episode. So this is going to be a longer episode, as you can see. But of course, it did start with Opiate way back and it had to be '92 because yeah, it was right from the beginning, pretty much from the beginning. It was, and I have mentioned before my friend Little Mo, who lived next door to me. I mean, I must have been about 12, 13 at the time, and he's like a few years younger, like at least 4 or 5, a few years younger anyway. I forget how many offhand, but when I went, a little story about me and Little Mo. He was out there kicking a. I'm pretty sure it might have been a red ball. Just all like for hours, he would just outside kicking a ball in the air, just kicking the ball in the air because he was so bored. He needed something to do. But then another neighbor that I had met pretty much like when we first moved into the trailer in Ryan Road. That's where I used to live. The trailer's no longer there, but yeah, I pretty much lived in a trailer. But I was maybe 13 at the time. Well, anyway, there's other stories about that later on. That would be a whole different segment. But anyway, here he was, kicking the ball, and then Nancy, the next door neighbor, said, let's go and I'm gonna present you to this kid. His name is also Maurice Gautreaux, and I couldn't believe that. I was like, what? There's another Maurice Gautreaux? But then I find out it's really Maurice, Maurice, whereas I go by the English, Morris. So anyway, yeah, it was from his skate video because he was into skateboarding, and this was of course like a decade later. We were much older. I was at least 21. I was about 21 years old when this came out. So I was at that perfect age. My first two favorite bands, of course, we'll get briefly into that too. My first two favorite bands was Kiss, right until they took off their makeup. I was in limbo for maybe about a year or so, and then I discovered Metallica, and the big four. They kind of ruled my stereo for a while. I still listen to a mix of a lot of different other music, but that was my main thing at the time. But then the Black Album came around, and I don't know, not getting bored of the thrash metal scene and that, but I don't know, some of the albums things changed, and some of the later albums, they're not as good, especially once they, like, for example, Metallica's Weird Period, as I like to call it. But then, of course, from that skate video that my friend Little Mo made me watch, I was like, and I remember the song on the skate video was Part of Me, and I was like, yeah, I really like that. But then I also had seen on Much Music, and it was getting some attention, of course, at the time, the video for Hush, you know, and not well. And then once I realized that was the same band, oh yeah, and then I had to get the album. I just, like, right away I had to get the album. So I went out and I found this album. And when I listened to it the first time, I was right, like, yeah, like it's like it feels so much like me. Like it's something I weirdly identified with. You know, I had a weird upbringing. I'm not gonna say it's particularly a hard upbringing, but it wasn't fun at the same time. You know, but there are memories that you have growing up and stuff that you do take with you, especially music. Music heals the soul, and this it was like they were vindicating certain feelings that I was having about censorship and religion and you know people that are jerk offs, as they would say, and about the inner beauty of Cold and Ugly. I mean, I realized right away that as metal as it is, Maynard's such a guy that he puts so much thought and so much philosophy into the structure and the order of all that great lyrics. He is. No, he is my favorite singer. He is my favorite lyricist of all time. And not to mention that I think Ron Mail of Sparks is probably getting up there as one of my second or third favorite lyricists. Another one would be Murdoch Stewart, Stuart Murdoch from Belle and Sebastian. I like his lyrics too. They're so like, yeah. But going back to Maynard, yeah, Maynard's my favorite lyricist of all time. Absolutely, like. And then shortly after, I'm going to show you this little. Wait, I'm going to show you this little crate thing that I. This is where I keep all my Tool CDs that will fit in there. That's not like this size, But I was expecting to fill it up. I thought the newer album would have been like this. That's what I expected. But when I saw that it was a huge package, I'm like, what the? And let's see, is this charged? Oh, I want to see. Should be. Yep, of course. I mean, I wanted to make sure it was charged if I play it again. So I'm not going to waste the battery on that right yet. I'm not going to play it, really. But yeah. Oh. But now you get to Undertow. Mm. That they kind of, ramped it up a little bit. They got a little bit more, the arrangements was great. And then right from the beginning track, of course, you get. And when back in the day, when I would listen to an album, I would be laying on the floor in the dark with maybe a little pillow under my head, like, or maybe even on the bed, and I would take the speakers, like speakers, and have them on each side so I get that beautiful stereo play, and I want to hear every little nuance. Every new album I get, I try to listen to it like that. I don't always succeed, because I'm a busy man too sometimes. But when Undertow came out, damn, yeah, that was just some fantastic stuff. I mean, then it gets like prison sex. It makes you and you feel like, should I be listening to this? But in deep in your in your soul, not your heart so much at the time, but it does affect the heart after a while. Of course, you can't not unfeel, this. I mean, how music affects feeling, so intricately. But then you get sober, the video song, then bottom, and then crawl away. And well, I'm not going to go through the track list again, but you know what I mean. But my favorite song, of course, is 4 Degrees, because what can I say? 4 Degrees is just some fan. I love the message. I love the sentiment of it, and I just love the drive of it. It's just a get up, shit. It's good. Yeah, yeah, and then and then then discovering the secret songs, because when I first got this, it was on cassette. I first got it on a cassette, and then it I didn't realize right away that, like, why there was so much space at the end of the. It was the first time I ever discovered a secret song. I had never, ever, ever, discovered a secret song. It was on the cassette too, the Gaping Lotus Experience. But when I discovered that just elevated it. It's like, because I hadn't even really heard it at first. And then when I got it on the CD the first time, like way back there, because I had to get it on CD because it was superior than. Cassettes are not the greatest. They're fun. They're cool. Don't rely on them. But I like my CDs. Anyway, to get back on track, yeah, yeah, it's just Can you tell I'm such a Tool fan? Oh, yeah, I could talk about this for hours. I swear. Cause I'm pretty much going to go through everything, like my history of Tool, and I think I still remember the first time we were watching up in Atlantic Canada here. We watched like ATV. There was a TV station here, and it was just like they just played it once. It was just after the 5 o'clock news, okay, or 6 o'clock news, or one of the news shows, and didn't they play like maybe a 15-second excerpt of the beginning part of this. Or no. Sorry, it was this. It was that the very first that the do 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 do. That Danny Carriette, like, being his genius. I remember, and they said, and it was like it was only a 15-second commercial. Just that first few seconds of just enough to, like, what sound is that? Why is that something associated with Tool? I didn't have, it was like yeah, because already hooked by the time I was through, you know, undertow and opiate, because a few years after when this came out, so the anticipation for this was pretty high, because I just, and yeah, this blew me away. Because they got so much more, even deeper. It's like I didn't like. It was so, because I didn't want to take away from this stuff, because this stuff is what. Well, like, it's my first love. It's still probably my. This is the chonky stuff. This is like heavy stuff. Then you get to this, and it's just like, what's all these little segments that's just not quite a song, but they're not intros, they're little mood sections, and it really filled out the album. There are times, I don't do it often, but there are times when I have played this where I would like program those little things out. So it's just the actual songs, with the lyric, full songs, and not the little interludes, as I call them. Which they're awesome on this. I still think they have a very, I still love playing this whole thing. But and I only discovered this years later, of course. The Vitamin Records, the string quartet tribute to Anima, which is fantastic. If you can ever find that, yeah, it's hard. I don't know how easy now that this would be to get. I know that they have one for my favorite album of all time, which is the next album, of course, because if you're here, I hope you're a Tool fan. You should know. So, yeah. So yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. I don't want this to be too long, but I know it's gonna be long enough because I want to kind of get into you know the my history with Tool because our history, each of us, how we discover Tool, I think is super important. I think if you do have a story to tell about how you discovered Tool and what Tool means to you, it's deep, it's personal, and I swear I will. I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again. That I swear, it felt to me, and it still does to this day, feel like I have a supernatural connection to Tool. That Maynard somehow is reading my mind and taking every little important. But that's just the genius of Maynard. That's not the case. Of course, it can't be the case. But that's what makes him a genius. He really makes you feel like I'm talking to you. I am digging into your soul, and I am reading every thought, and I am putting it in the perfect way that I know that you will understand and love. It's like, yeah, of course. It's like it's like he's on a different level of a wavelength. Like again, I don't I don't want to call him. I don't want to say that you know I don't want to say that G word for him because he's not quite that status, but he's a demi one. Yeah, for sure. He has to be because he's just fantastic. Yeah, like like okay. I told the story and I'm going to tell it again because yeah, when I was in it was when this came out, I was in Montreal. I was in Montreal. It was the first year I was in Montreal. You know, like it came out like May 15th. I moved up to in Montreal January 5th. I arrived January 5th, 2001. We all know some events that happened in 2001. I'm not going to mention here. But yeah, this only came out like a few months after. And I had, as anybody knows, it was like a 5 year wait for this. This didn't come out right away. It was like I had been anticipating this for a while. And I was walking down St. Catherine Street, coming from the Barrie Metro, walking towards Atwater Metro in that direction. Okay, from east to west, and I swear it had to be no bigger than a like if I held out. If I held out a piece of paper with just normal like size writing on it, like say a script, the poster might not have been as big as a period, as a little dot, like on the horizon, way out there in the horizon, and somehow, some way, I knew what it was. Like I pinpointed like radar. Like no way. My friend John McIntyre at the time. He was walking with me. Because I was talking about something and I stopped talking, and I completely lost track of what I was talking about. Completely, all I could focus on was that little pin of an object, and as I'm getting closer, I'm getting more excited and more excited because I'm knowing it's a Tool thing, and all it was that image there, okay, just him. It wasn't even the background, and on a black background, and over on the top of it, it had that, and it was just black. Yeah, black was him silhouetted around it with that on top of it. With that's all the poster was just Tool, that, and I think it may have said Lateralis, right, like Tool Lateralis, right close together. I wish I could have had one of those posters because it was awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like it was so far away, and I just saw it like then when I they had listening booths at the like H like at HMV, or there was a place called Archambault, but you could go in and you only had you could, like 15 minutes to listen to what you could from it. I didn't want to go for this. I didn't want to hear anything until I got it home and laid down and put speakers next to my head and dive into this, because and then the journey this took me on. I was not expecting it. I was like, it went to places and it did sounds I have never heard. It gave me chills. It like I had multiple times had goosebumps and probably even cried. I had not cried, but had tears in my eyes because it was just so beautiful and so meaningful and so deep. And again, I'm like, how is he reading my mind? How is he getting in there and digging it all out and transforming it into the most beautiful thing that caught on to the global mass, beauty. Are we pretentious Tool fans? Like as the Trash Talkers asked on one of their podcasts, you know, are we pretentious? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, saying that this is the greatest band that ever existed, that's opinion. Maybe is it? Is it really opinion though? I don't, it's because how I feel about this band, you know, like because I when I was living with my ex roommate a long time ago, Patrick Freedom, okay. He was such a Rush fan that he got me into Rush, but he couldn't convince me that Rush was. I have no. They're talented. They're still up there as some of the most talented musicians of all time, and never take away from their genius. Also, I want to get into Rush maybe someday too. Maybe do just one or two good videos about my journey with Rush. Well, yeah. But anyway, getting back to this beauty. Ah, yeah. And I mean, just from the cover, when that Mylar thing there with like the medical journals and stuff that I had seen before, and that now another little story about this cover, okay, is that there's this great kind of what kind of a shop was that? Like a meditating type, like like books about religion and meditating and all kind of I forget the name of it now, but it was on Saint Denis, and it was on the east side of Saint Denis. It was down kind of, you had to walk down some steps from the sidewalk to get into the shop. But then I went in there not knowing really what I wanted to get, but I had a great paycheck from work that day, because I was working at the time. I did have a job, like I was starting to work, and I had a great paycheck and everything. Yeah, I tried to find I found a job like within like a good month or so after I moved into Montreal. But that's a whole different story for a different segment of here. But where I'm getting at is that shop. you know, when I was going through there, they had some Alex Gray cards, and I don't, I since lost those cards. It still pains me I lost it, but I had bought a beautiful. It's the one. It's kind of a really wide one where it's just basically an image of a guy in a lotus, like a lotus position, and it's showing it was showing the chakras, and it had a cool thing going, you know. But I love that card, and I've always loved Alex Gray's. You know, he was one of my favorite artists. Like I loved his work, and I knew of him. Okay, and a friend of my brother's had introduced me to Alex Gray, so I was quite aware of his work, and like he was like besides Salvador Dali, which is another one of my favorite artists of all time. Like I really loved Alex Gray. And then when I realized that this is Alex Gray, boom, like what? Like no, that yeah, awesome. Like how what are the odds? From in my brain, it's like my favorite artist now of all time, with with my favorite band of all time. Like how is that? Like how did that happen? It's like it's beautiful that happened. I like it blew my mind. I was like. Now again, it was like, how did Maynard? How did they know? Not even Maynard this time. How did they know that that Alice Gray was my favorite my favorite artist. Like that's what I was thinking at first. I was like, because it was just like too convenient. It's like, oh, of course, the two greatest artists that I know of are combining. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, because I had bought that card, maybe it was like maybe a month and a half before I was even aware of this, and when I realized that the card I'm holding and this is from the same artist, and like it's Alex Gray, like yeah, that just blew my mind. But then so I stick on this a little bit longer because we're just gonna move on. Then these, and they were not that expensive at the time. They were pretty affordable. We got the first one here, Schism, and then we got look at that cover. I love that cover. Again, it's Alex Gray, genius. And this is a Parabola, my favorite song. I love the video. Like, trash talkers, please do a video. Watch the video, do a reaction for the video. Even if you can't show it, still try to do a reaction for the videos. But yeah, I love these DVDs. These are not albums, these are DVDs. So, we're, yeah. You gotta check them out. I'm gonna open these because you really should see the inside of them. That's what that side looks like. That's what that side looks like. It comes with a cool little book. That is, see, for Schism. It kind of shows it shows images from the. I'm not going to show every image. I'll show just more of the important ones. Like yeah. Like there's that image there. And then there's that image there. It's cool. It's all from the video, and a little bit of the behind the scenes look of the making of. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Yeah. All right. And then of course, we'll get to my favorite one. Might as well show these, because it's awesome. But again, it's just my, like, when I saw that, when I saw this video for the first time for Parabola, and yeah, and having that image on it with the circle of eyes, I love that. I was gonna write a song and call it the Circle of Eyes. A song about Tool, basically about my love for Tool. I should. I'm starting to learn about music here and there. I've been watching a lot of these like teaching, like, people. I don't have a guitar or anything, but I'm still like soaking it up there. All this music theory and trying to learn pitch and stuff just by watching YouTube videos here. I got into that for a while, but oh yeah, uh, when that part came up where he slices the being into, after he gets attacked by a bunch of grapes, a big giant bunch of grapes. And then that transformation at the end with the little whatever those are, coming up and dancing around, and yeah, it's fantastic. A little storyboard, has this little bit of a storyboard there to it. Again, another storyboard of the transformation at the beginning with the with the basically body puppets. Maynard's actually in one of those, if you didn't know. Yeah, so yeah, Maynard is in one of those. I think that's probably Maynard in that one here. And, yeah. And then a cool little profile thing of that little being. It's just cool. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, I didn't show the package. Yeah. There's that side. And of course there's that side. Well, anyway, let's move on, because I could again talk about that for hours. So now we're gonna, when again, another wait, like waiting for this to come out. It's another 5 years or so. Like what? What? But again, when it came out, I remember they were only selling this at the time for $10. It was on sale for $10. And for that day, that day that it came out, I remember hearing on the radio that it was the number one album, right at that, like, for opening sales and stuff. So of course, and another Alice Gray, and it was so captivating. It's like, what's this going to be like? And again, I had the chance to sample that in the store, but I didn't want to. Now I have a little. This is not the same copy. This is probably my. And I've had these CDs, multiple copies of these CDs, because I wear them out, But the first time I bought this, okay, I had played the album a few times, but I didn't realize, for some weird reason, one of the songs wasn't playing. So for the longest time, I wasn't hearing. Rosetta Stoned. It wasn't. It didn't play. It was skip. It would just completely skip Rosetta Stone and go to the next album. So for about a couple of days, I wasn't realizing it was skipping that song, and then I'm like, I looking at the cover, looking at the track list, and saying something's off there. There's no real hidden track exactly. What's going on? So I brought it back, and I'm saying, and like I realized, yeah, it's skipping over a song. Like it completely is going from one number and to the, it was a weird defect. I have never experienced that defect on a CD before, ever. Skipping over a complete song, and then getting the album again, like exchanging it for album, right? Like, okay, I'm not getting a different album. I want the same album. It's only $10 anyway. It's not a big deal. But yeah, it like, and then when I first then when I again when I heard Rosetta Stoned for the first time after hearing the whole album a few times, except for that song, yeah, it kind of blew my mind because it was so different than the rest of the album, and it so filled in the rest. Yeah. Because it seemed odd. It was because they had that weird cut, and I'm like, what? Why is it going from that to that in that way? Yeah. So, and then of course, when you find out that it has that has a 3D viewer, like, are you kidding me? Like I can see this. Oh yeah. Again, you want to keep it parallel, where the glasses are pretty much centered with the picture, parallel. And then, oh yeah, and don't force it. You just kind of look through it like a normal pair of glasses, and that image will pop right out. Oh, it still trips me out today when I look at this. I love it. Yeah, and those pictures are awesome. And I'm gonna do something here. So, for example, we got. I want to try to get it in the right. Oh, there we go. So that's on the poster. Oh wait, I know better. I got a better one here. Let's get yeah. So Maynard, like my poster. That's the only poster I now have of Tool. Again, I got that from this tour, when I went to see them in Montreal the second time. Those two concerts, damn. Those, I still I still try to think of you know they were amazing. I'll never forget those concerts. Oh yeah. But yeah, this album, not like, it kind of, I can't say it disappointed me, because no, it didn't really disappoint me. It just wasn't Lateralis. I mean, it was almost like I was losing. They were losing the connection, just a touch, But still, no, it has its own, you know. It could, because it's more. I think it may be because it's more of a personal album to Maynard when he wrote those lyrics, and when and even even that certain arrangement, in as much as I mean, with Wings of Marie and 10,000 Days, the basically the title track, because let's face it, it's a two-parter. It's all one song that's just in two parts. You know, not and they don't try to. They never make it obvious. They didn't make it obvious with Parabole and Parabola. You know, but like, that tripped me out when, like, yeah, damn, like, okay, that song's gonna be this long, that song's gonna be that long. It's like, and then they blended it together in such a beautiful way. And I don't know, there was just a little part of the arrangement that just kind of, like, seemed odd to me a little bit. It didn't quite catch me in the right way. And even when it got into the later part, I don't know, it just didn't have the depth and scope as Lateralis, because it's just, yeah, again, Lateralis. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I of course, a few days ago was its 22nd anniversary, and you bet I played that. Oh yeah, I played that. Actually, I've been playing almost most of the albums this week. I've been kind of putting them on before, like, going to bed. so I only kind of hear the first few minutes of it. Sometimes, if I want to play it the next night, I'll skip a couple songs. I'll start at 3 songs on or whatever. I'll start at a certain place because I want to hear kind of those songs. But because I find it so relaxing, so relaxing to listen to, and it can put me to sleep if I'm tired. So, or if I'm kind of, tired but my head's awake a little bit, so I just kind of put this on and I can just listen to the music and not have my thoughts going through my head. Just focus on this and yeah, because I'm so familiar with it. I played it so often, but I still love it so much. Yeah. And I love this too. I mean, when I say that it's not as great as Lateralis, I only mean by like that much. It's still fantastic. It's still better than everything else out there. Like every other type of music out there. So it still has that going for it. I still love it dearly. And now we get to the video for the first track, Vicarious. Yeah, and again with the cool 3D cards in there, and it's not the flip book thing. It's more like like the cards, and you kind of just put it in the fold right there. Again, with the destructor going over the land, I can look at that in glorious 3D. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And then now when I watch the video, which I have on DVD, I can picture it in 3D because I've seen images of it in 3D. Oh, it would be awesome seeing those Tool videos and like the videos in 3D. That would be a dream come true. And not to forget my my electroacoustic tribute to Tool. And again, when I first heard this, I know it's not Tool. It's from Calvin Records, and I thought it was interesting because Jimmy here, which is Jimmy, and H, they're instrumentals. There's no lyrics to them, so I can and it's so off to it, but yet I can still every part I can still know exactly where the lyrics start and where everything drops. Like I can sing along to those instrumentals and like put lyrics to them, like say the lyrics. I love doing that sometimes. Just having that on and just kind of just singing the lyrics myself. So I'm hearing my voice and I'm not hearing Maynard, which I will say I'm nowhere near as great as Maynard. Maynard can do any. I swear he can do any genre. He's so versatile. Like yeah, but this guy nails it. Whoever is singing on this, he's nailing the essence. He doesn't sound like Maynard, but he so has the feeling and the flavor, and you still feel the Maynardness in his singing, which I love. Yeah. I mean, of course, it has all those great songs, ending with Parabola and Parabola. And it's funny, all the previous songs are all from the albums before Lateralis. That the only song that they have on here from Lateralis is Parabola and Parabola. Because it's 46 and 2, Cold and Ugly, Jimmy, Prison Sex, H, Crawl Away, Stinkfist, Sober, Parabola, and Parable. And see how they have it Parabola first and then Parable, which is the opposite, but yet they play it as if Parabola was Parabole and Parabola was Parabola. So it's not that they put the song in the opposite order, and they do have it separate. It is the same song in the same order, but they just switched the titles of it. Interesting why they would do that. But then, oh, also I still have the download code for the extra 3 songs from oh yes, the next album, of course. I almost kind of forgot again about this. How could I forget? But yeah, I have the code for this, so I can get those extra songs. Okay, so yeah, with this, yeah. Ah, this is first of all when I saw that big packaging on the shelf of it, like, but and again, even though it's not as I'm not crazy for this cover. You know, it's kind of bland, very bland, but still recognizable as a Tool cover. You know, there's no mistaking that as soon as you see it, you know, it screams Tool. Of course, they had a sticker, like when the wrapping, it had a sticker on it that said new Tool album and stuff. But I would have recognized it anyway as a new Tool album, regardless. And with the, you know, with that logo on it, of course. So yeah, I think it's awesome, and of course with the art in the book, and again lyrics. It has lyrics, the first time ever, and with Tool, it was a struggle getting those lyrics because it really because his lyrics are such like you have the music at this level, but his lyrics are kind of just slightly below the level of the music. That you can still hear them, but you have to kind of pay attention to especially the first time you're trying to listen to it. You're missing stuff, and for months I would be getting wrong lyrics, like I having like thinking he's saying this or that, and then having some other people kind of correct me, saying no, he's not saying that, he's saying this. But then I go to the internet. Finally, he like Maynard would post the actual lyrics, and okay, that's what he's kind of saying, you know. So it like enough so that he could fill in the blanks, like that part where in Lateralis where um reaching out to embrace the random, reaching out to embrace whatever may come, that whatever may come. I couldn't quite make that out the first few times I heard that. I was like, what is he saying there? It was just kind of, yeah, I was getting that wrong. And then when I finally saw what the actual lyric was, it was like, oh, of course it is. And you instantly forget what you thought it was. Whatever you thought was the lyric, you completely forget. I forget what it was every time. Every time I hear a lyric and I think it's something this and it's like that doesn't really make sense. But if that's what it is, that's as clear as I can hear it. And then you finally read the lyric. Okay, yeah, that. Even on 10,000 Days, like some of those lyrics kind of really, stumped me. But then, then you get familiar with it and beautiful, beautiful. But then you get this album, which I swear, you don't need the lyrics because everything he says in the album is very, very clear. Super clear. Yeah, there's no misunderstanding anything in that. I hear everything. But yeah, they put lyrics, and I thought, yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. It didn't. It kind of like, why would you change now? Why would you finally put lyrics? But I think it's awesome that they did. I still do think it's awesome. I still love the way they like. This is my favorite song on the album. Of course, I really love Danny Carey's drum thing that he does. That I've watched that many times already because I just love that, and I love the song. Tempest is probably my second favorite song, a very, very close second. I like that too. But this is a great, great album, and it's so great that I had to buy it a second time. Of course, because why wouldn't I buy it a second time? It has cards. It has 3D cards in it. Like look at that. Can you see that? Isn't that awesome? I love it. Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah. 5 of them. And again, it's pretty much the same. This has a lot of the same images. Just a little different though. You know? Because this has a booklet, and the booklet has, like, but this has a book, but it's part of the packaging, which it's interesting concept. I love it. It makes it feel more like being like looking like a book form gives it a mystical feeling. It just gives it that I don't know. I still love it. I still love that they did that with like made it like look like a book, you know. And but it has a CD. Yeah, it's really good. I there must be a reason why they put the lyrics there, because they probably want you to try to like really introspect those lyrics. But I don't think they're probably the least deepest lyrics that Maynard has. It it doesn't have the same. His lyrics don't have the same punch it does as Lateralis or even Undertow, like or especially Opiate too, because those lyrics in Opiate, they gave a punch, you know, like crazy. Like it was so impressive to me at the time. But yeah, like everything that Tool does, I have to get. Unfortunately, I wish I could get a Salival. To get that, especially like a DVD set of it, would be tremendous. It would be it's probably my holy grail of items that I want from Tool, and plus that cassette too. The one that the Trash Talkers have in their studio, the wow, what's the number, 8272 something. Yeah, I kind of forget the number offhand. Because I think I made my own copy of that somewhere. I would have to dig that out, but I do have a copy of that. Wait, just a moment. I'm not gonna. Okay, I'm gonna pause for a second.